Dr. Michael Oren joins us, former Israeli ambassador to the United States, historian extraordinaire. And Dr. Oren, I want to begin by thanking you for walking this audience through the last 2 years, all the terrible news, all the good news, the occasional breaking news. You've been reliable every week. Thank you for it. Tell us now, not what Israel's feeling, but what Michael Oren has been feeling the last 24 hours.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those warm words, Hugh. And I'm thinking about all the people who enabled me, my family, my neighborhood to survive the last 2 years, and not just to survive, but to emerge at the end of the day victorious. The sacrifice, the struggle, the pain, the agony of the families of the hostages, those who came back alive, those who are now hopefully being restored to their families for proper burial. I think of all of that. And I have to divide my feelings between those of a citizen of Israel, a former soldier of Israel, again, father, grandfather, but also a historian, and to see this in historical context and what this moment means, how we got here, what there's yet to achieve, how it stacks up against the myriad other peace initiatives in the Middle East that did not succeed. All of that I carry with me at this moment. It's a lot, but I feel at this moment, sort of immeasurably blessed.
Dr. Oren, if I were your publisher or your agent, I might have given you the day to celebrate. Now I'd be knocking on your door and asking for 75,000 words on the last 2 years. Are you going to write a book about this?
Well, right now, as we're speaking, my article on why this worked has been published in the Free Press. If you can get it right now, if you click on it. I have contracted with a major New York publisher to write a book about this war. There are about 700 books about October 7th already, and I'm not exaggerating, 700 books. There is no book about this war. And this war, perhaps even more than 1967 or any other event in modern military history, has been transformative and promises to truly transform the Middle East. We see what happens with the subsequent phases of the 20-point plans. But you can see a Middle East which looks just unrecognizably different from what it was on October 6th, 2023. We could have peace with Lebanon, peace with Syria, peace with Saudi Arabia. And through peace with Saudi Arabia, Israel has peace with the entire Sunni world, with the largest Muslim states that are outside the Middle East, with Pakistan, Indonesia, Azerbaijan. And we could even, and Donald Trump made this remark in Knesset, I think he meant it seriously, we could even see peace between Israel and Iran under perhaps a different leadership. So this entire region looks just unrecognizably different as a result of what Donald Trump and his team have accomplished today.
Dr. Oren, I began the program by saying there are public events for which you are joyful and private events. Private events are getting married, having children, seeing them grow up, get married, and having grandchildren. All those are private events. In terms of public events of joy, I rate this up there with the Berlin Wall coming down, the release of the American hostages, and today. Is there anything else in that category?
I'm thinking back. I think, Sadat's visit to Israel, for example, was a big one. The various White House peace signing ceremonies, some of them proved to be very successful, others less so. I've been present at several. I was present at the 1994 signing of the peace treaty between Israel and Jordan with King Hussein, Bill Clinton, and Yitzhak Rabin. I was actually a guest at that. So I've been present at the creation of some of these. The Oslo Accords was a joyous occasion in September 1993. On the White House lawn. It didn't turn out so well, but it was certainly a joyous occasion. But what I think more than any other peace initiative, not only has this one succeeded in actually bringing about concrete results, the release of the hostages and ending the fighting, but it holds out the promise for subsequent phases that will bring peace not only to Gaza, but perhaps throughout the region. And as I said earlier, something that will certainly transform the region. And it's all contingent. It is not easy. There are tremendous heavy lifts awaiting, not the least of which, perhaps the primary of which, is the demilitarization of Gaza and disarming Hamas.
Now, the last I saw, Hamas was being difficult in the return of the remains of the other 28 hostages, those who had died. Has that accelerated? Has there been clarity on that?
Last I knew, there were only 4 remains returned of Israelis who were murdered by Hamas. They didn't just passively die there. They were murdered. And for those families, there's no closure. And I have been dealing with families of soldiers whose remains have been in Gaza now for over a decade. And I know the just exquisite agony that these families go through. It's very difficult to describe and for others to understand, but this will remain an open, bleeding wound unless those remains are returned to their loved ones for proper burial. And also, it will constitute a flagrant violation of the ceasefire agreement should Hamas fail to return those remains.
What would be the opinion of Israel generally about resuming combat if the remains are not returned expeditiously?
Well, it depends on what level of combat. I don't think Israeli forces are going to resume their major campaign into Gaza City. Very complex, given the international environment, given the trust that has been put in Donald Trump and his team, and also the fact that tens of thousands of Gazans have now returned to that city and once more constitute a human shield for Hamas. But there can be other levels of military or kinetic intervention. Any member of Hamas that goes out in the street with a gun could have an unfortunate meeting with a drone, and that could be done. But I think short of military means or beside military means, there are other means at the disposal of President Trump and his White House team, which is, for example, they can cut out certainly any arms and cash supplies to Hamas. They can stop Hamas's ability to steal humanitarian aid. Hamas steals 60% of that humanitarian aid and resells it at exorbitant prices on the open markets of Gaza and enriches itself. They can stop that. And we can empower other leadership circles in Gaza, including some of these militias and clan-based organizations that have arms and have a deep grudge against Hamas for bringing such destruction, raining such destruction and death on the Palestinian population of Gaza. I tell you frankly, if I were a Palestinian, if I were a Hamas terrorist, I would think twice before walking outside in the street with a gun.
All right, now, Dr. Oren, I want to get this question in. You're a diplomat's diplomat. You've been doing this. When did you start diplomacy? 30 years ago?
I think in the crib. It was kindergarten, something like that.
So,
yeah.
What do you make of Steve Witkoff rolling in on January 21st and spearheading this with Jared Kushner on his wing and Marco Rubio over here and Donald Trump behind them? But really, Witkoff, this is not what he does.
That's not what any of them really do. It's not what Jared Kushner had done, before 2020, before the Abraham Accords. But what Witkoff did, as Jared Kushner did and continues to do, is to throw out the rule book. Virtually every nostrum, every assumption of that, of the diplomatic, the diplomatic core, as it were, the hardcore, I should say it correctly, within the Beltway, in the mainstream media, in the universities, all had these assumptions that were totally proven wrong. For example, you can't make peace between Israel and an Arab country unless you first create a Palestinian state. Wrong. The way you end the war in Gaza is by pressuring Israel and cutting off arms supplies and military aid to Israel. Wrong, right? The minute you get back you can never get back all the hostages. You have to just get some hostages back for limited time, limited ceasefires. Wrong. I can go on with the wrong. It's like a pinball machine going wrong, 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 wrong. And these gentlemen come from a different world. They come from the world of business. They come from the world of real estate. And they applied a number of rules from that world. One is that you get peace through strength. You don't get peace by broadcasting fear. You don't get peace by dismantling the Pax Americana in the Middle East. You get peace by projecting power against the Houthis, projecting power against the Iranians with great effect, and by backing up Israel's use of power, not pressuring Israel, saying, go ahead, go into Gaza, do what you have to do, but just get it done quickly. And then also personal relationships. We had, in the previous administrations, in the Obama and Biden administrations, they basically cold-shouldered Netanyahu. They cold-shouldered and pressured other Middle Eastern leaders, particularly in Saudi Arabia. Kushner, Trump, and Witkoff come along, and they make personal friendships with everybody. And diplomacy, like everything else in life, Hugh, is 90% personal relationships. And so they threw out all these rule books, and they broke it, and they broke through to this historic achievement.
Exit question, Dr. Michael Oren. I'm looking forward to the book. Tell me when the title is. I got up 3 times last night to find out what was going on. Did you go to sleep at all?
Not much. Can you see? Can you see? But this is, it on top of the last 2 years, it's a minor concession. Believe me, it's a minor concession. And there were many nights during this war where we didn't sleep, we couldn't sleep. Many nights when my family was under fire, literally under fire by the rocket fire. So even if you wanted to sleep, the Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, the pro-Iranian rebels in Syria, those Iranian militias in Iraq and Syria, and Iran itself was making sure we never got a full night's sleep. Right.
Well, I hope you get one tonight, and Godspeed in helping everyone get this organized. What a great day for Israel and the West and the United States and all your allies.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.